evening and welcome to Across the Pitch. We're the soccer show for people who think enter is what you do when you walk through a door.
Oh. I'll pay that one. That's good.
Now, of course, the Inter that we would be talking about on this show is Inter Milan, and Mr. Wizard, Inter Milan has really been making some noise at the transfer window lately, haven't they?
Yeah, they're gearing up for their first season in MLS, and I mean, outside of signing some veteran players.
Nicely done, Matt. I don't think that was the Inter.
Oh, Inter Milan. I'm sorry. I was just thinking MLS. Hey, why'd you bring up Milan?
I think that's probably got something to do with some big transfer moves.
You know what? I'm so ready for USL, MLS. That's all I've thought about.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. And
I'm geared up in it.
All right, let's go because we're into the most exciting time of the year for football agents. It's the January transfer window, and it's been something. We've had a bunch of. We're not going to talk about that because there hasn't been very much happening, really. So let's not talk about that non-event. We're going to be talking about the fringes of football, the bangs of the ball, if you will, the fresh shooting buds of the grassroots, the heaped fresh manure on top of the flower bed, and we'll probably get lost in some bollocks chat about Arsenal for about 45 minutes of the 60-minute show. But before we get into that, we've got a lot more to talk about first because guess who's back? It's Mr. Wizard. How's the car, mate?
I am. It's still running. Still needs some work, but it's running. So make sure you guys do us a favor. Head on over to your social media. Give us a follow. You can find us on Twitter at Across Pitch and over on Facebook and Instagram at Across the Pitch. That's where we'll interact on match days. We talk all things from League 2, non-league, USL, MLS. We've been chatting a lot of women's league. We're going to talk some FAWSL tonight.
Yes.
And so I'm excited for that, guys.
Yes. But first, let's go back to what we were talking about before I rudely interrupted with my wonderful intro there. USL and some movements, shall we say, from the USL over to the hockey. What's going on there?
Sam Doerr, who is was the Vice President of Marketing for Phoenix Rising.
Marketing God.
One of a kind, Mr. Dollar Beer Night himself.
I don't think... Okay, what happened, Phil? What happened to Sam?
Well, the good news is that Sam is still in Arizona. Sam has made the jump from Phoenix Rising over to the Arizona Coyotes, and there's a bit of a partnership kind of brewing between the teams. They already have the Phoenix Rising night.
Do they?
Yeah, it's coming up on
cool.
February 4th. There's going to be a half Phoenix Rising, half Arizona Coyotes.
Whoa! Let's rewind here a second. Didn't they have a Coyotes night at Phoenix Rising? I think it was one of the nights I couldn't attend. They had a Coyote. Sam Doerr has been gunning for that job for about 6 months now. How do we not see this coming?
Well, I think it's just a matter of the two clubs kind of have been on a partnership kind of level, and there's actually, if you look on our website, there's actually a video that I took of the Arizona Coyotes mascot playing the drums with the Red Fury.
Right. Yeah. It's wild. It's a weird sort of synergy, that really, isn't it? I mean, they're opposite ends of the season, so they're not competitors, really. One plays on ice, the other plays on turf, of course. But the biggest synergy is that, Sam Doerr, he came from NBA, didn't he not?
Well, he came from San Antonio.
Right.
He was with San Antonio FC before.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Yes, you're right. Yeah. I knew it had something to do with San Antonio.
Well, I mean, if you look at the San Antonio FC logo, it's easy to get them confused with the basketball team. So I get
Very, very close. Very, very close.
What are they called by any chance? San Antonio. Not the
I think
Spurs.
they used to be the San Antonio Scorpions, and then they rebranded to just San Antonio FC. So I don't know if they still have like a mascot, that's a scorpion. But as far as I know, they're just San Antonio FC.
That would be one to ask Harry, because he's a loyal listener that does his own showdown in San Antonio. We'll have to ask him on Twitter.
Hey, they've got the spur. This is why I'm so confused. All right, they do have a spur on their crest.
Right. Yes, they do.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, all right. So he's got a sporting background. Back to Sam, all right? He's got a sporting background. He loves his soccer, his football. But his first love apparently seems to be hockey. And he has been, I've followed him quite some time on Twitter. He has been commenting quite a bit on hockey games. And he's got across, and I have to say, he'll be a huge loss for Phoenix Rising. Huge asset to the Coyotes, the Arizona ice hockey team for my friends back in Australia. Bit of a loss. Probably should have seen it coming.
I mean, like I said, I'm just glad that he's staying in town and not going to Los Angeles or someplace like that. I mean,
right.
Like I said, I'm a season ticket holder with both clubs, so it's bittersweet. It's a loss on one side, but a gain on another. And he's already come out with a nice $59 monthly pass for.
He's just a genius, this man. He's going to be hugely missed. Sorry. We'll probably never see the Bud Light night again at Casino Arizona Stadium, which is a bit of a shame. I would like to go on record as saying that, well done, Sam. You deserve that. Good luck in the promotion, let's be honest.
Right.
I hope he does well.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's going from is a minor league in the second level of the USL to a top 4 sport in the US, the top level league. I mean, I'm sure it's a pay increase.
Would have to be. Really?
I just want to say not minor league, League 2. In the pyramid.
Yes,
USL, not minor league.
Well corrected. Thank you, Matt. Although if you've seen the comings and goings of Phoenix Rising in the last 6 days, you'd probably think there probably was some minor league issues, chip on the shoulder thing happening there. But that's not where we want to go tonight, because I kind of feel like we need to pull out the Jose Watch music for this, okay? That's the one. Because Matt and I, to be fair, I concur with this theory, but you know what? Maybe there's something more to this move, isn't there, Matt?
Yeah. This is something me and you talked about a couple days ago in our chat. It's been no secret. Sam's posted it on Twitter, frequently, not frequently, but a couple times going back, saying that, if he doesn't want to be a part of the MLS machine, he made mention on Twitter that if Phoenix does get, the expansion, that he would move on to another, I'm assuming USL side. And so now we see this move to Arizona Coyotes. We all know Sam likes it here in Arizona. He has, he's obviously has hockey as an interest. This seems like a move that maybe he knows something we don't know. Kind of coming on the back of all this news articles coming out about this new development that is going to have a professional football sports complex.
Huge sports complex. They're even talking about, not only just
a location mentioned for that at all.
Yeah, right there where Casino Arizona Stadium is, on that bottom southwest corner between the 202 and the 101. That's where that's meant to go.
My crazy thought was what if they built the soccer stadium out at Westgate near the Coyotes stadium, and they got a real partnership going?
Nah, that's a hard pass for me.
Yeah. Well, first off, because it's on tribal land over there, so it's a Salt River community. So that's where they're looking at building it, not in Westgate. That's other tribal land over there, I believe. But here's the thing. So Sam's left. He's jumped ship, I guess you could say, or got promotion. Let's just say he got a promotion. Okay, let's not start rumors as far as we can here, all right? Because we've got a pretty big one coming up, haven't we, Matt? More so, he's not interested in being a marketing director in the ML dollar sign, is he? He said that. But those plans that came out on the Salt River tribal area there, which was enormous. So we've got like a state-of-the-art football ground there, soccer ground there. They had training pitches. They had a commercial centre there. It looked like they had, sort of athletic houses. There was even talk of a Formula One style track around this area. Okay, this is how bizarrely big this is. Phoenix Rising is currently there.
A Formula One race in Phoenix for about 2 years.
1982, 1983, yeah. 92, 93. Yeah.
Miserably,
that's because you guys don't know racing over here.
I watched it.
We don't have.
I was excited. I was the only one, but I was like 10, so you know.
I would have been there in an instant. I would have paid my money for the entire weekend. But that's not what we're talking about, because they've got this immense project planned down there. This is billion-dollar stuff. Billion with a B. What has Phoenix Rising done with that knowledge, Matt?
They haven't. They haven't come out
shit all.
Right, yeah, they haven't come out and said that they're not a part of it. They echoed really kind of the sentiment of, this is good for the area, and they just kind of again repeated that thing of we're contracted to play at Casino Arizona through the 2020 season, and then essentially we'll see what happens after that.
Right.
And so, I mean, here's the thing, and conspiracy theorist, whatever, maybe it's just reading into some stuff, but it's fun to talk about.
It is. It's great. It's great.
You got Sam moving on, which I got to imagine wasn't an easy choice for him.
I don't think so.
If you followed him on Twitter, not only did he love the club, but he loved the supporters.
He loved the banter. He was always.
He loved it.
Yeah.
So that keeps him connected by taking this job with the Coyotes. It gets him in this new field. He can grow as a as a marketing guy, as a specialist. And I think maybe that's because he has some information that we don't yet about this new thing. And I think what this is pointing to is us being MLS 31 or 32. We all know when Charlotte was announced, and prior to that, Don Garber said, well, we're done at 30, but that has never met anything in the past. There's been talks of growing to 32. We know that Don Garber really likes manufactured rivalries, and we know that MLS has a gaping hole between Texas and California that would be filled perfectly by Phoenix and Vegas. And so you have Vegas kind of launching into a stadium, soccer-specific stadium build in the next couple of years. You have this whole thing coming out with this sports complex in Phoenix. Sam Doerr, who's just gone on and said, I don't want to be a part of MLS. If we got an MLS expansion, I would move on. And that's, you just kind of see these dominoes falling. I really think MLS 31 and 32 is going to go to Vegas and Phoenix, especially because right before Garber announced Charlotte, the three cities he mentioned that we're still kind of in discussions with were Charlotte, Vegas, and Phoenix.
Exactly.
So this fills that hole. This gives them that quote unquote manufactured rivalry. Now, not to the point that, we've seen with like Cincinnati and Columbus or Atlanta and Orlando. We have built a little bit of a rivalry with Vegas over the last couple of years, although it's been one-sided. Vegas, it really has. Sorry. But it gives them that. So I just think, in the next couple of years, we're going to get an MLS franchise.
I applauded this when you were talking about this the other day on chat. Now that we've said it on air, I've got to say it probably has a few gaping holes in it.
Oh, probably all conspiracy theories do, right?
For sure, man. I mean, all right, yes, okay. So 31, 32, they haven't announced that they're going to expand. They're probably going to have to expand because the ML dollar sign corporation is built on expansion rather than popular receipts at the gate. I can see it happening. I don't see that out of the realms of possibility, honestly. In fact, it's probably more likely to happen than not, I'm going to say.
Right. I think it's really just
here's the gaping hole. Here's the gaping hole in that argument, though. I mean, you've got two fresh, and when I say fresh, I mean Phoenix Rising had a 3-year plan to get into the MLS. We're in year 3 now, right? It probably points to your argument here when I say, at the end of our 3 years, don't know what we're going to do. I don't think this investment group is going to fold up after 3 years and move off tribal land just because we didn't get an MLS spot. There's probably been some machinations in the background there, and the only thing I see about this is a new ownership group. It's new. Like, these guys haven't really worked together outside of Phoenix Rising. I don't know anything about Vegas, but they're new as well as a franchise, or as an entity even, not even a franchise. Kind of, that seems like a bit of a stretch for the MLS to go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, we have a very committed ownership group. I've actually ran into a couple of the owners in the club shop on match days, the little club shop tent. And they're there with some friends, and their friends are buying Phoenix Rising gear. I mean, so we have owners that are coming out to games consistently. And I honestly just don't think a lot of teams can say that.
They certainly do.
As I kind of look around,
they do
right?
seem invested in the squad, in the team. Like, there is a personal investment in there. Do you know what I mean? It's not just financial. They're there.
Yeah, and I mean, they're invested in the city as well. I mean, look at, they came in, and in less than 2 years, after a year of being Phoenix Rising, they started investing in youth soccer development and programs. And now you have, the Phoenix Rising FC youth teams, and they're doing well, and they're competing, and they're building that path to the first team, if you will. And so I think this isn't a case of, all right, 3 years have passed, we didn't get an MLS expansion, time to wipe our hands of it and sell and bounce to the next endeavor. I think these guys are committed.
I agree with you. I agree with you. You don't set up those grassroots clubs just to go, all right, see you later. Could you imagine what would happen to football, soccer in this town if that would happen? Like, that would destroy soccer as a professional sport in this town for decades. I mean, families. My partner, Cindy, she works in the hospital. She quite often sees soccer injuries. Every single one of those kids that come through there talk about soccer, or, they've got a Premier League team or something like that. Do you know what I mean? That's because they can see this sort of grassroots thing happening. They're all playing it. They've got a professional side up top, which they all aspire to, If that was to go, they're gone. I mean, there's no faith in soccer in this town if they go.
Yeah. I mean, it's a worst case scenario. I would see the team be sold. They're not just going to fold up shop. I mean, it's too established. Somebody would want to buy the product.
Right.
And you know what? Maybe that was the part of the investment back out, if you will. That was the get out clause. We're going to build it up. If it doesn't happen, someone's going to buy it.
Right. And hopefully that's not Stan Kroenke, right?
Well, he's one of the old boys. So, you know what? He's got a record in the ML dollar sign. So, yeah, he'll probably get a team in.
You know what? To be fair, though, I wouldn't want Jerry Jones buying the Phoenix Rising either.
I would. Are you kidding me? In a league with no salary cap, Jerry Jones would have freaking Messi and Ronaldo on the Phoenix Rising.
Could you imagine the plumbing in that stadium if Jerry Jones bought it?
There's a salary cap in the MLS.
Not the USL.
Not in the USL. Yeah, right.
It'll be a little bit one-sided, I imagine.
Yeah, if Jerry Jones could sell Messi on coming to play in Phoenix in the USL, I mean, shoot, man, we need him to do a lot more than just run sports teams.
Right.
Well, Jerry Jones, unlimited amount of money.
let me just interject here for those who don't know who Jerry Jones is, because we do have listeners in the UK and Australia. Jerry Jones is the owner of the Cowboys, perennial playoff hopefuls.
Also, isn't
the most valuable sports franchise in the world?
I was just about to say, Phil, aren't they the most valuable franchise in the world? And
yeah, we're $6 billion. The franchise.
Yeah. Million or billion?
Yeah.
Billion, right. Okay.
Suck it, Man United.
All right, so our conspiracy theory goes as thus. Phoenix Rising won't commit to building a proper stadium on a tribal land. The tribe has decided they're going to build a complex anyway. Sam Doerr has jumped ship, and we think that the investor group are canny enough to realize there's probably some sort of life in 31 and 32 spot, a seat, if you will, in the ML dollar sign. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's it, man.
All right, cool. And I'm in. I mean, I know I keep saying ML dollar sign because I think it's funny. But,
all right.
You know, it's...
I feel like this is a show of conspiracy theories. So I'm going to throw out another conspiracy theory.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Arsenal is going to finish second in the league.
When?
The championship?
This league. This year. Wait, but see, guys, I'm not talking about the Arsenal men's team.
I'm
talking about the Arsenal women.
And you're still wrong about this, mate.
No, I think this is great. I think we need to talk about this. We haven't talked about the women's.
Bandit Dog, she's on Arsenal, right?
Yes. So we haven't talked about the women's leagues enough. And so I've been really getting into the FA WSL, which is the English Women's League. And
Super League.
The Super League. And it has been, it's a 3-horse race right now. So if you're looking for excitement, if you're looking for high scoring games, I mean, these are games to watch. These are women at the best, highest level. And so here's how the top 3 are shaking out right now.
One thing I would ask real quick about, because this is actually something that I need to know, is how do we watch these games?
Yeah, so the women's games are tough, man. I watch the Chelsea women's usually via the official Chelsea app or through some sort of back channel.
No, we don't do dodgy feeds.
You know what I mean? There's ways you can find it. Unfortunately, it's
just
not.
Type it in.
Unfortunately, it's not. On ESPN Plus or any other kind of paywall that I found.
Okay.
But they do show most of the Chelsea women's matches on the Fifth Stand app, and so I watch via that. But this is a league that has really just caught my attention this year. And really it goes to the fact that the top 3 teams in the league are Arsenal, City, and Chelsea. And this is where it's at. So you have Arsenal at first right now. Now they've only played 12 to 11 matches. So Arsenal's sitting on 12th on 33 points. City is in second on 30 points. And Chelsea is in third on 29 points.
So that's a bit boring now, isn't it?
Chelsea has a game in hand. I mean, listen to some of these records.
I was being facetious there, by the way. Like the same old men's club or women's club, if you will, in this case here. But okay, go ahead.
Right. So the Arsenal women are 11-0-1. The Man City women are 10-0-2, and the Chelsea women are 9-2-0. Now, the Chelsea women do have a game in hand. But even that, I mean, the top flight, you have a team like Reading sitting in fourth. Right. You have a team like Bristol City that's playing in the top flight, Birmingham City, Brighton Hove Albion. And then you have
do it, say it. Yes, Liverpool.
Dead last. And I just got to say, Liverpool, if you support Liverpool, do something about this, guys. Liverpool, put some money into this team. Put something. They have 0 wins, 3 draws, and 8 losses. Now, for those of you at home, that means they have a total of 3 points.
Yeah,
3 points.
It's not great, is it?
And so I was thinking to myself,
on Margaret Thatcher.
Well, see, I was thinking to myself,
Phil, oh God, what have you done? All right, I think we've got back our Liverpool fans here, but we've alienated the rest of them. Okay.
I was just wondering, maybe Liverpool is like, this is their second year of existence. This is their second year of having a women's team, and they're just trying to figure out how to do this and get their feet wet, and they're kind of developing. No, this women's Liverpool team has been around since 1989. The club took them over in 1994. Like, come on, guys. But
here's the fun thing about Liverpool. I mean, I know where you're going with that, all right? So it seems like Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, the men's teams seem to support the women's teams. You know what? The men's are the cash cow. Let's just throw some bucks that way. We'll throw them a bone. Doesn't seem to happen in Liverpool. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it seems like, man. I mean, I think you have Arsenal, City, and Chelsea that have really said, hey, we're going to make, we're going to prioritize our women's game, our women's academy. I mean, Chelsea went out and signed Sam Kerr, who was tearing up the women's league here in the U.S. as well as in Australia. She was, the leading scorer.
Possibly, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I don't think it's a very small limb. I think this is a rather large and sturdy limb when I say this. The best player in the world.
I think so, man. I think you could make that argument for why she's the best. Now, obviously, you'll have those that whenever you talk best player in the world, you always have those that prioritize national team,
right?
Performance over club. But for me, it's club. You're doing it, day in, day out. Mm-hmm. National team is highly built on your nation, right? And so I would agree. I think Sam Kerr's up there. She's already starting to have an impact at Chelsea, and who knows where it goes from here. But they've prioritized their women's teams, and they're bringing in, established players, and they're promoting and signing exciting players, and it's growing.
It is.
The league is growing over there so much. Watching Chelsea matches on TV, there's more there's higher attendance at those Chelsea women's league matches than there are at most MLS matches in the US.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, just and I'm just giving it the eye test on TV, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But,
so, all right, going back to Liverpool. So Liverpool haven't prioritised their women's team, and I'm very popular on the West Bank of the Mersey.
It's worth mentioning that Liverpool is owned by a U.S. company. Liverpool is owned by the same company that owns the Boston Red Sox.
Arsenal's owned by a U.S. company. That's not an argument. Chelsea's owned by a Russian something.
Well, I wasn't really an argument. It was just informational.
Right. But here's the thing about the Liverpool women's team. They don't even play in the same city. Do you know where they play?
They don't.
Do you know where they play?
I have it.
Prenton Park, which happens to be where Tranmere Rovers plays. And I just have to say, that pitch in Prenton Park where they play is apparently an embarrassment to the league. And I just had to look that up there for a second. That's quote unquote, not mine, but it's an embarrassment to the league because it's all muddy. It looks like something they used to play on in the 80s and probably did because
they already hate you in that city anyway, man.
Bring it on. All I'm saying is Liverpool, up your game.
Yeah, right. No, I agree, man. And, I guess for, the fans of, those of you out there that are listening that support a Premier League team, if you have a team or really any team, if you have a team that's, your team. So whether you support Chelsea or Arsenal, United,
Bristol,
Liverpool, Bristol City, Wolves, I mean, support the women's team as well.
Please.
And that doesn't mean, like I'm saying, go out and, buy a poster with, but just support them. Watch the matches.
I just had this vision of a large lager lout in the Premier League going and fitting into a women's jersey.
Right. But I mean, just go out, support them, watch the matches whenever possible, follow them, follow them on Twitter, follow the handles. Just get involved,
spread the word,
know what's going on because it's entertaining football. And in England right now, I think England's probably has the best women's league in the world.
Right. Now
you're gonna get some letters about that one.
But I tell you what, I think that the women's league is probably more organized in England, but I think the US Women's National League here, US Women's Soccer League here is probably the Premier League for the moment. Sam Kerr defecting from America, from the US to the UK was a huge statement by not only Chelsea, but I think by the Super League over there in the UK. It's like, hey, you're not the biggest league anymore. We're better organised. I see this being fascinating. I can see some development happening in the US if they sort of see this threat of good players leaving and going to Europe.
All right.
It's quite the reverse of the MLS when you think about it. I mean, the MLS is like, hey, we're a big league, we're paying good money over here for players, yay, come over and see us. Whereas it seems like here is the money here in the women's leagues, and all of a sudden you're seeing this little drift off to Europe of all these good players.
Well, you know what? That really has to do with, I think, how the women's league here, which is the National Women's Soccer League, they don't really value. Value
I think that's the
international
word. Yeah, I think that's the word.
Players. So the way the league is structured, there's a salary cap, and so women international players cannot make as much money here as they can overseas, which is why we saw Sam Kerr leave, which is why we saw kind of the highest rated women's college player signed a contract with, I believe, Barcelona. And she came out and she said, I can make more money playing in Barcelona because of the ways that the rules are structured in the NWSL. The NWSL is built to favor the U.S. women's national team. So the U.S. women's national team players are incentivized to play in the NWSL because those teams in the NWSL are not paying their salaries. Their salary is being paid for by U.S. Soccer. Oh. And so it doesn't count towards their salary cap.
Well, that's really, really interesting. I can understand that argument, right? They tried that in England. They were like, no, you need to mandate a certain amount of English players fronting up in your team. And guess what? England sucked. All right, so it's the competition within the league itself from players from other countries that builds a better league and builds better national players. I'm going to go and point to the WNBL, the Women's National Basketball League. Is that right? That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
WNBA.
WNBA. Beg your pardon. Sorry, I get so confused between the Australian. Anyway, WNBA. They recently signed an agreement where they're going to bump up the women's pay. I wouldn't say it was anywhere near parity to the NBA players, but something that is more than a livable wage, something whereby you can actually go out and maybe not go and play in Europe, in the summertime.
With the WNBA, all of the WNBA teams are actually owned by and supported by the NBA teams. So
right. But that's what Matt was saying, though, too, wasn't it? Because they're basically supported by US Soccer. Am I mishearing that?
Right. Well, no. So US Soccer pays the salaries of the U.S. women's national team players on each team.
Gotcha. Beg your pardon.
So not the whole team, just so Megan Rapinoe's salary from her club is actually paid by U.S. Soccer.
Do you happen to know how much that is?
How much she makes? I have no
imagine
idea.
She's probably earning some sort of base wage there plus a bonus.
Well, she probably makes then there's got to be endorsements.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, Phil. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
But I think that's why we're seeing, like the women's league in Europe's getting stronger and growing and doing better is because they're connected to established brands, for lack of a better term. And so what I would like to see in the U.S. is actually let's not, I want to see Phoenix Rising start a women.
Yes. I'm so happy you said that right now, man.
I want to see LAFC start a women's team. I want to see Atlanta United start a women's team and not do this stuff where it's, you have the Portland Timbers and then the Portland Thorns, or you have the Seattle Sounders and the Seattle Reign. But why can't it just be Phoenix Rising? Let's use that brand. Let's use that thing so we can, come together. I think that's where the strength is in the European women's game, is that I can buy a Chelsea men's jersey and I can put a women's.
You can put Sam Kerr on the back of it.
Right. I can put Sam Kerr on the back of it.
Right.
But I'm still supporting, my club.
Damn right. Oh God, you talk sense, Matt. Oh, with God. Take heed, ML $. Take heed. Matt Robard's Mr. Wizard. He's got your number.
Yeah, with the MLS teams, I definitely agree. Now, when it comes to the USL teams like the Phoenix Rising, I honestly don't know if it's a financial feasibility.
Is there a USL women's competition? I don't believe there is. I can't believe that I don't know this.
I think the USL has actually talked about the possibility of starting one in a couple of years.
Well, I should.
I know at one point there was a USL women's league, but it folded when the USL was kind of in a downward trajectory. I mean, we went through a period, for those that live outside the United States or don't know a lot about women's history in the United States, before the NWSL came about, we went through a period of having U.S. women's leagues turning over. I mean, almost to the sense of by every couple of years, a women's league would fold, and then a couple teams would get together and form another women's league. And so the NWSL was formed in 2012, and has been going kind of steady ever since. I mean, they have 9 teams. Which isn't a lot. I think there's 12 teams in the first division of the FAWSL, and there hasn't been a lot of new teams started. There's been teams that have folded, and so I think there's that stretch there. But
yeah, I mean, with the USL teams, I think many USL franchises might be operating at a loss as it is. So that's what my concern is with that. But with the MLS, there's definitely, like you said, the ML dollar side. They definitely have the money to finance something the way that the NBA does with the WNBA. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. Is it's something that ultimately is going to have to be financed on some level by the men's league to really give it the financial stability, because that's with the WNBA. That's what's let it be successful, is that with that financial backing of the NBA, it knows it's going to be around.
Yeah, fair enough. I kind of feel like there should be some sort of motivation from the leagues in order to be able to promote this, I mean, Rain FC, I had to go look this up just now, but that's Portland. Rain FC is the women's team who is in basically competition with the men's team. They're both playing in Portland. Why the hell aren't the Timbers taking on this team and going, we're going to invest in you? That's a pox on that league, I have to say, ML $. Boo!
Right. Well, Rain is Seattle. Portland is the
beg your pardon, it is too. Yeah. My Northwest geography isn't so good. Okay.
But I mean, the Rain don't even play in Seattle. They play
Tacoma.
Tacoma. Yeah. They play in the same stadium that the Tacoma Defiance play in.
Which is that's
well, that's team. Like saying that the Phoenix Rising don't really play in Phoenix.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, but not really.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is, the thing about it is like, okay, you've distanced themselves. I mean, there seems to be there's this distancing almost, it feels like, with like, okay, we have the Seattle Sounders, and I could be completely off base here, but it's like, instead of just like, hey, let's launch this women's team and let's kind of give them, it almost seems like there's this distancing by saying, well, they're not the Seattle Sounders, they're the Seattle Reign.
Right.
And so if maybe things fall apart, or if things aren't going well, or if they start to struggle, then it's almost like, okay, well, at least then it's not damaging the Sounders brand.
That's poor. If that is the case, I mean, maybe a bit of a stretch, but I think you're probably right.
Right. And I don't know. That's just how I perceive it, right? How I when I look at this, where like I say, okay, Arsenal has said, no, we're in.
Right. Like
we're in all the way. This is Arsenal FC, Arsenal Women FC, same jerseys, same badge. They've gotten their own stadiums. They play in it just feels more like, okay, if they look bad, then it's kind of a reflection on us. Sort of like we talked about with Liverpool. Mm-hmm. If Liverpool had a women's team, and if Liverpool is just like, oh, it's the Berkshire or Birkenhead, whatever, and then we'd be like, oh, look at this team from Birkenhead that's not doing too well in their women's league. But no, we look at it and go, wait, Liverpool, you have all this money rolling in. You have all this, you're a global franchise. You're this global
top
brand.
of the league by how many points? Come on.
You won Champions League. Like you have this money. You're well off. LeBron James is a part owner. Like, why is your women's team not? Why are you not putting that much emphasis?
Well, one thing I would say is with the WNBA, none of the WNBA teams have the same name as the NBA teams. So in this country, it's not really something that's normally done. I mean, I guess even if you look at college sports, sometimes they'll have the same nickname. Sometimes it'll actually have a different nickname for the women's teams.
Right. And how well off is the WNBA? How many people are they getting to games?
They do it right in town here. I mean, Phoenix is probably.
Well, I mean,
what's the women's basketball?
25 years.
What's the women's basketball?
See, I mean, like you guys, like you can't even remember like the women's basketball.
But they're one of the most winningest teams in town.
Well, no, I mean, there's been plenty of big stars, Diana Taurasi, Reiner. Yeah. I mean, there's the WNBA. I mean, the league's been it's a 25-year-old league. It's growing still to this day. I mean, I'd say it's probably more popular now than it was 15 years ago.
than the Suns, yeah.
I mean, that's like I get what you're saying, Phil, but that's not good enough.
Yep, spot on the money, Matt. That's exactly what it is.
They're popular. They're more popular than they are now 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, they were pulling in 200 people, and now 15 years later, they're pulling in 400.
Oh, they get a lot more than that. The Phoenix Mercury?
Mercury, that's the one.
I'm just saying, Aaron couldn't even remember the name.
Oh, that's so.
I couldn't even tell you the last time I watched a women's basketball game.
I'm sorry. I apologize to our listeners for that. Like, that is a real.
I mean, I think that they bring in a lot more than you're underestimating. I think.
No. I'm not saying 400 is accurate. I'm just saying if the thing is like, okay, they brought in X amount 15 years ago, and look how much they've grown. I mean, how many teams are in the WNBA?
Probably about 20.
You don't know. And okay, this is my point. Please don't interrupt me when I have my massive point here, because it's so important. Here it is. Women's sports don't get the recognition they deserve, right? I forgot one of the most winningest teams in this town's name, the Mercury. I apologize. That is awful of me. But it's not just me. There is a big blind spot in sports when it comes to women, and I don't understand why it is. It's basically, it doesn't come down to skill. These women are skilled. They're amazing. They work hard. They train just as hard as the lads do. You know what I mean?
Last season, the Phoenix Mercury were averaging 11,000 fans a game.
Great. I forgot their name. That's on me, but I can guarantee you probably about 95% of our listeners out there didn't know their name either. It's on me. We need to get out there. We need to promote this. All right, us three together, we're going to go out and we're going to promote the women's leagues when we can. All right?
Well, I mean, how many of those women, though, are going overseas to play basketball? They don't get an off season.
Exactly.
Because they're not paying here. And there's only 12 teams in the WNBA. 12. They've been around 25 years. There's 12 teams.
Wow.
That's not good. I mean, there's 12 teams in the FAWSL first division. There's 2 divisions in the FAWSL.
There's 9 in the NWSL, like the National Women's Soccer League. 9, right. And we're talking about 32 just before when we're talking about adding Phoenix Rising.
Right. We have officially 30 MLS teams, and we have 9 professional women's teams. Think of how many women are graduating college that are good enough to play professionally, but there's nowhere to go.
Exactly.
Because you can't. Right? I mean, an NWSL team can't have 40 players on their roster.
Damn it, Matt, you've just smashed the argument. I've done interviews with high school girls who play soccer, but they're not going to play soccer. They're going to do something else when they get to college, because you can't get a college scholarship. And if you do, it's not going to be very good. It might pay for half your tuition if you're lucky, and there's probably 12 of those across the land. If Phoenix Rising were to open up an academy here, I can guarantee you this would be a hotbed of soccer talent within about 20 seconds. Could you imagine? A women's academy, not just a youth academy, not just a men's academy, but a women's academy as well. And just say, hey, you know what? We're pushing for MLS and we're pushing for NWSL.
So I just had to do this.
Right, go on.
So the Liga MX female women's team in Mexico. So Liga MX is the women's leagues, founded in 2016, has 19 teams.
Holy crap.
19 teams.
You could probably say, that's all they love down there, but that shows a hell of a lot of support for the women.
Right. And I mean, look at these teams. America, Atlas, Cruz Azul, Guadalajara, Leon, Monterrey, Pachuca, Pueblo, Santos Laguna, Tijuana, Toluca, UANL, UNAM. I mean, those are Veracruz, right? Those are all men's teams.
Yep.
That were established, and then they went out and started women's leagues, women's teams. I look at the world and I say, okay, Mexico, 19 teams, England, 2 divisions, France has a stellar women's
I got
team.
one for you. Australia has 9 teams. Australia has 9 women's teams. Come on, America! You're better than Australia, surely. I mean, you got more people for one, all right, but come on.
You got Barcelona has a women's team. Real Madrid have a women's team. Atletico Madrid has a women's. Why can't we get this to work here? And it can't be that American sports just isn't like that. Because I find it hard to believe that Mexico's league was started in 2016, 4 years after our league.
I've got 4 words for you, Matt. ML $. That's probably 2 letters and 2 words.
The MLS has empty seats for half the stadiums. I mean, I think it's more of a getting Americans into soccer issue than a men's versus women's.
Well, so look at this. The MLS was started as a stipulation almost for the U.S. being awarded the '94 World Cup. FIFA essentially was like, hey, if you want this World Cup, you have to start a professional league. Right. And so the U.S. said, yes, we're going to do it. We're going to go. We're going to do it. 94, the World Cup comes to the U.S. Soccer fever is at a all-time high. You had some of the best players in the world, the best teams in the world here in the U.S. playing soccer. You had the men's team that upset Colombia and 96 right. MLS launches. And it's just been, it's been ups and downs since then. But, after every World Cup, you see this spike in growth.
Apart from the last one.
Besides 2018, because, we weren't there. But why didn't we capitalize on that this year, 2019, when we won the World Cup, the Women's World Cup? Why didn't we capitalize it in 2015 when we won the Women's World Cup? Why wasn't there this push of look at this, let's capitalize on this momentum that we know is coming because we can see trends, and let's start. It drives me crazy.
I'm with you, Matt. I'm with you.
And so I've said, I've made it a priority this year to really follow the Chelsea women's team.
All right.
And I could tell you who's on their team and who's the leading scorer. And, I was stoked when Sam Kerr signed because I was following her from the Olympics.
God, that killed me.
And so it's just one of those things of hey, look, I'm just putting it out there. Phoenix Rising, if anyone from the club listens to this, if you guys start a women's team, I'll be there.
Me too. I'll be a signed up member.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would almost bet money that the Banditos and the Red Fury would be in the South End, banging drums, lighting off smoke, chanting.
Here's the thing. All right. And building on that as well, sometime mid-season, I guess, it was really, really freaking hot. I took my daughter down and she was excited to see, I guess it was a couple of youth soccer teams, girls soccer teams, running around on the stadium. There in Casino Arizona Stadium, running around the grass at halftime, and she was like, "Wow, I want to see those girls again." And every time we came back, she was like, "Are those girls going to be there? Are those girls going to be there?" That's what they need to tap into, because my girl, who is 5.5 right now, is watching those girls play. She wants to do this. She wants to aspire to do this. This is good stuff. This is not just community stuff. This is just good stuff in general. I've run out of superlatives here, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely love to see it happen. I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to be a downer here or anything like that.
No,
I'm
not at all, man.
just kind of looking at the financials and things like that. And I think that an academy is probably something that would come before a team, I guess.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Well, and I will say the Phoenix Rising have done a great job at having youth girls teams, and that have actually gone on. I mean, if you follow Phoenix Rising Youth on Twitter, this past winter when it was commitment time, we saw girls, committing to D1 colleges from our program. And so that's great to see. And I agree with Phil. I think that's the start. And I think until, honestly, it's going to take Don Garber coming out and saying, hey, instead of expanding MLS to 40 teams, we want to now redirect some funds into really buying the NWSL and turning it into a legit
one that can compete with the Europeans.
One thing that I will say is that as much as everybody looks at the MLS and says, oh, all this expansion, all of this expansion, if you look at the model of what the NBA and the NHL and the NFL did in the 1970s and 1980s, they're really following that same model, kind of, if you build it, they will come, if you will. And it worked where in the 1980s, people were saying the same thing about the NBA that they would say about the MLS. So, all these stadiums are half empty. The NBA finals are tape delayed on ESPN.
Where is the talent coming from? I'm sure that was something, wasn't it? Like, we're expanding, we're just going to water down the league. I've heard that with MLS. Like, I'm sure that was probably...
And then all of a sudden, one day, Michael Jordan showed up and the NBA became what it is today,
The freaking world. Yeah, man. All right. Yeah. I'm with you, Phil. I still have my reservations, but okay.
I mean, I'm just saying that if you look at the expansion models of American sports leagues, and once again, I mean, you're talking about that money coming in, all that expansion fees, in order to maybe do something like an MLS Women's League, which maybe some of that expansion money goes towards that.
Bam.
Right. No, yeah, I think it's good stuff, guys. We're at an hour here.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about League One, but I think this was more important anyway.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So should we save that for next week? Yeah,
let's save that for next week.
Okay. Hey, I'm happy to do this.
Sounds good, guys.
It has been great. I think we've covered a lot of ground tonight. Groundbreaking ground, I will add.
Yeah, I definitely think we've talked about a lot of things tonight that we maybe have never covered. I know we got into the Women's World Cup pretty deep, but I don't think that we've talked about the England women's club teams or anything like that. And once again, congratulations, Sam Doerr, on your promotion to the NHL Coyotes. Couldn't be happier to have you staying in town, even if it's not with the Phoenix Rising anymore.
Yep, well done.
Yes.
Well done, mate.
Congrats.
Proud of you. Disappointed in you.
Also, hey, if we were right about the whole MLS thing, just drop us a message on Twitter. Across
As always, thank you guys for joining me tonight on Across the Pitch. Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to...
One last thing. One last thing. And I'm going to stand for this, all right? We're going to do this. So we're having a little funny chat. It was between me, Darren Woodhead, who is our correspondent over there in Accrington, and Phil and myself. And basically Phil has decided he might for some good reason, go and change his name to Stanley Accrington. And I'm going to say it's one of the craziest, funniest, most brilliant ideas I've ever heard, man. Tell us about this. Why are we doing this? At what point, why are you doing this?
Oh, I was just thinking that, to show my commitment to the team that, I'm not a tattoo guy myself, so maybe I'll legally change my name to Stanley Accrington. I'll tell you what, I think here's what we need to do is I'm going to post on Twitter. And if I can get 10,000 likes on Twitter, I will legally change my name to Stanley Accrington.
All right.
So that's a dangerous game. I would say this, though, man. If this does happen and you legally change your name to Stanley Accrington, that club should fly you out.
You'll have to go on a boat, but yes, they must. They must. I know Andy listens to this. Andy, are you hearing this, mate? Because I'm pretty sure you need to retweet this, okay? This is gold.
I'll put it out on Twitter here today.
I can't wait to see where this goes. And on that bombshell, it's good night from me. Yeah.
I think that was your
Stan. Okay. Should we just call you Stan from here on in?
Well, thank you for everybody for joining us as always, and for my brother from down under,
my mate from Stan 48.
Good talking with you guys.